Greetings, GPL parents. My name is Matt Bauer, and I have the privilege of serving as our school's principal. It's my goal with this orientation video to hopefully share some information that'll prove to be helpful in laying a solid foundation for our 2021-22 school year. First thing I want to say right off the bat is just thank you for your partnership. Thank you for the opportunity to work with you in helping your child or your children become a lifelong disciple of Christ. It's a responsibility we take very seriously, and we thank you for the privilege of working with you on this. It's certainly the goal of everything that we do at GPL, helping our children grow in their faith, grow closer to Jesus, so that ultimately we'll be spending eternity with them in heaven. I'd like to really quickly share a little bit of information about myself just to provide a short introduction. As I said, my name is Matt Bauer, and I get to serve as principal at GPL. The picture there is of my family. This past summer, we had the opportunity to visit the Ark Encounter in Kentucky. If that's an experience your family has not yet had, I'd encourage you to add that to the bucket list. It was an incredible experience, what they have there with the life-sized Ark and all the exhibits inside. My wife, Sarah, serves as the 4th grade teacher here in Watertown at St. Martin's Lutheran School. Our daughter, Hallie, will be a sophomore this year, and our son, Jarrett, will be an 8th grader at St. Martin's. The numbers on the left side of the slide there represent my years of ministry. I've been serving as a teacher and a principal for upwards of 17 years, 17 under my belt, going on 18 now. The first 4 were spent in a small town in southwest Wisconsin called Viroqua. My wife and I had the unique experience of starting a 2-room school from scratch, and an experience for which we'll ever be grateful and forever treasure. After that, we went out to Sacramento, California, specifically Citrus Heights, where we served for 10 years. I had the opportunity there to serve as the principal and 7th and 8th grade homeroom teacher. And now for the past 3 years here at GPL, going on 4. On the right side of the slide, those letters represent my responsibilities at GPL. I've already said that I get to serve as the principal. I also teach one class, that's personal finance to seniors, an incredible opportunity to share some real practical things that will hopefully prepare them well for life. I get to serve as our head girls basketball coach. I advise the student council, and then I also get to spend a fair amount of time behind the wheel as a bus driver as well. This 21-22 school year will have the theme Build on the Rock, and it's not a coincidence that we chose that theme for this year. We've had the opportunity to see a lot of building going on at GPL, and one of the things that was really evident as each different phase of the project has been constructed is that there is a tremendous amount of work that happens underground with pouring of concrete and so forth to make sure that what is built on a solid foundation. And the same is true of our faith. And Jesus says in Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 to 25, "Therefore everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock." When I meet with new students and new parents, we talk about how even in a Christian school, there are going to be challenges, there are going to be temptation, the winds, the waves, the storms, the floods of our lives. But we every day get the opportunity to build our lives of faith on the rock, Jesus Christ, as we have the opportunity to grow in his word and worship him. So certainly nothing new. We do that all the time at GPL, but we're going to focus on not only the fact that our lives of faith are already built on the rock, but going forward each and every day is an opportunity to continue to build on the rock, Jesus Christ. I'd like to highlight just a few blessings from this past summer. First of all, we're bringing on 3 new staff members. Michael Starr will serve as one of our dorm supervisors. Additionally, he'll teach world geography to freshmen, religion to sophomores, and he'll also help us with boys basketball. Jeff Roloff is our new director of mission advancement. Jeff had previously taught at GPL, and then he spent about the past 5 years serving in the area of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So we're happy that Jeff is back in this new role, and he'll probably be visiting your congregation or maybe you as an individual sometime soon to talk about the mission and the ministry of Great Plains Lutheran High School and how we can support it. And then Jeff's wife, Sarah, will serve as our mission advancement assistant. So she's here in the office doing various things, updating our social media, and many other things that support the effort of mission advancement. Of course, our new facilities are a tremendous blessing. We were hoping that by the first day of school, one piece of the equation would be fully ready to use, be ready to use. Unfortunately, that's not quite true, and I'll share a little bit of information with you about that later in the presentation here. But in very short order, we're going to have a new kitchen and dining area, a new auditorium, and then by next May, a new gymnasium as well. So it's incredible watching those things go up, and it's going to be more incredible as they get finished and we get to use them. Various new technology throughout our building, everything from new interactive multimedia display boards in classrooms to new Wi-Fi infrastructure, new security cameras, the faculty getting new laptops and things like that. So tremendous blessings there. And then also the tremendous blessing of how many young people with whom we get to work this year. We have a record enrollment for a freshman class at 42 starting the school year, and an overall enrollment of 135 students. So those numbers are tremendous blessings because they mean more students are learning at the feet of Jesus, growing as disciples of Christ each and every day. An extremely important part of our partnership that is ultimately one of the most important keys to success is communication. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about various ways that we can communicate so that we can be on the same page and know what is happening and ultimately have a strong and successful partnership in Christian education. First, I need to level with you. A lot of communication comes from GPL in the form of email. Twice a day, you're going to get an email with morning announcements, afternoon announcements. Every Friday, there's going to be an email, the weekly update that shares various pieces of information about some of the bigger things that are happening at GPL, and even a monthly update that focuses on some other important things as well. So I would encourage you, please be a regular checker of email. I realize that not everyone necessarily is super in tune to email, but it is an important way that we communicate at GPL. So please make it a routine to check your email so that you can be getting the information that we're sharing that way. If for some reason you haven't been getting emails from GPL, or the school year starts and you notice, I'm not getting the announcements emailed to me twice a day, please don't hesitate to contact the office or contact me. We'll make sure that our list is updated appropriately. And there too, I would say, if you're getting emails at an email address that maybe you don't check all that often and you'd like them to get sent to a different address, please let us know what that address is so that we can get that on our list. We do try to update social media regularly, and I think especially in a situation like ours where we have students who live in the dorm and they're from out of town, and in many cases parents aren't here every day seeing what's happening, we use social media to try to keep people in the loop. So whether you're a Facebook user, an Instagram user, and we're even going to try to do more with Twitter this year, I'd encourage you to follow GPL and see what's happening, because we try to share the life of our school in that way. And there too, you know, if you're an avid Facebook user or Instagram or Twitter and you see our posts, please like them, please share them, please comment on them. Anything we can do to increase our reach and increase our visibility is a tremendous thing. I'd encourage you, if you use Google Calendar, to get linked up with our Great Plains Lutheran High School Google Calendar. That's going to contain the most current information at any given time as far as events and practices and things like that. And then another important piece of the communication tool is the fact that we use YouTube to live stream many of our events, athletic contests, concerts, drama productions, and things like that. So again, if you're out of town and you can't be in the gym for a volleyball match this fall or a basketball game this winter or a drama production next spring, YouTube is a great way to watch many of our events live streamed. We use an app called Remind, and I would say it's primarily focused on sharing timely date or time changes. So for example, if we get to winter and we have some bad weather and it leads to the cancellation of a day of school, we're going to use this Remind app as one of several ways that we'll try to get that word out to you. Maybe for some reason the time of a game changed or a game got canceled. Again, that's the type of information we share with Remind. So I'd encourage you to install the app on your phone, and then you can get linked up with GPLHS parents on Remind by texting that code to that number, and then you'll be set up with Remind. It's possible that if you're a Verizon customer, you may need to install the app. There is a Remind app. Otherwise, if you don't install the app, I think it's also possible to basically just get these messages as text messages. But I'd encourage you to get set up with Remind so that you get those cancellations, those date changes, and so forth in as timely manner as possible. It's inevitable along the way that there might be some questions that you have, or maybe even some concerns that arise. I'd encourage you to approach those in a timely, proactive, and direct manner. Sometimes there might be a class that your student is in. Maybe your child is struggling. Maybe there's some questions or some misunderstanding, and that you feel it's the time to try to connect with the teacher. Again, timely, proactive, direct, with the person responsible, whether it's the teacher, the coach, or the administrator, or whomever can most directly help you with your question or your concern. And I'd encourage you to also share that same encouragement with fellow parents. It's inevitable that you'll be talking to others, and those questions or concerns might come to light. Again, the best thing to do is go straight to the source and try to work through those, and we'll try to do the same with our parents when those questions and concerns arise, so that we can have that strong communication, that successful partnership, get things resolved if they need to be resolved, and move forward in the best direction possible. And then there too, again, I would encourage you as parents to try to find that right balance of letting students, as they get closer to adulthood, learn to navigate and solve some of those problems themselves. So maybe the first encouragement would be, have you talked to your teacher? Have you talked to your coach? And try to get those things worked out on the ground level. If it's successful, great, we're moving forward and they gain some valuable experience in addressing concerns and solving problems. And maybe if it's not getting addressed as proactively or as successfully as you'd like, then maybe later on in the process, it might be time to get involved. But I think it's important that we try to help our students develop those skills of getting their questions and their concerns resolved and solving problems in a proactive way. And again, as questions and concerns arise, please know that my door, our door, is open literally, but also figuratively. In other words, we want to help you. So if it's sending that email or it's making that phone call, you see my email address on the screen there. That's also my cell phone number if you ever need to get a hold of me directly. But we're here for you, and we want to try to have as good a communication as we can so that we can have as strong and successful a partnership as we can as well. I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about some things that we can do to try to help our students be successful in every aspect of high school, but probably especially in the realm of academics and so forth. But before I do that, I want to share with you some fundamental motivation. And this banner, or a banner that looks exactly like this picture that you see on the slide, hangs in our gymnasium as a constant reminder. Every time we walk in there, we're reminded of the good news of what our Savior Jesus did for us. He rescued us. From Romans chapter 5, verse 8, God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And that good news is the essence of what it means to be a Christian, and it's also the motivation of everything that we do in our Christian lives. Flowing right out of that motivation, how can we serve our Savior each and every day, from Colossians 3, verse 23, also hanging from the ceiling in our gymnasium? Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord. So we try to remind our students each and every day to give their best, to give their all, to do it with all their heart, as a way of thanking and praising Jesus for what he did for us. He gave his life for us on the cross. So a few things that we have in place to try to help our students be successful academically. And again, we recognize that we work with students of a variety of different God-given talents and abilities, but ultimately the goal is that each of them use their talents and develop them to their fullest, to the glory of God. So one thing we have in place is all of our students are assigned to a homeroom, and that homeroom teacher serves as an academic advisor. So one of the things that homeroom teacher will do when we go through the scheduling process, usually in February for the following school year, that advisor is going to be working very closely with each student in their care to help them process everything and select courses that'll keep them on the best path to graduate and the best path to prepare them for what might be coming after high school. That advisor is kind of a mentor, just ultimately a go-to person that each student has, that homeroom teacher, if they've got questions, if they've got concerns, if they need help. Most of our students will take at least one study hall during the school day, kind of a ground level, great place to start when it comes to academic success, using that study hall for everything that it's worth. So getting right after it, working on schoolwork, asking questions, getting help, but spending that study hall very actively engaged in doing schoolwork and not being lazy and not wasting that important time. Another thing that we have in place is something that we call 10th hour. 10th hour really serves two purposes, and this year we're going to work really hard to make sure our students understand the difference. On one hand, 10th hour can serve a consequential purpose. In other words, if a student doesn't complete their schoolwork on time, a teacher may assign a student to go to the general 10th hour classroom and spend 45 minutes there and get that assignment complete. If a student is academically ineligible at one of our grade checks, and you can be ineligible by having a grade point average that's below 2.0, currently failing any classes, or having any unexcused incomplete schoolwork, 10th hour for 2 weeks serves as a consequence and hopefully a bump to move things in the right direction. But aside from the consequence, 10th hour also serves the helpful purpose of giving our students 45 minutes after school every day of direct access to their teachers on kind of a one-on-one level to seek help. So that's something that our teachers, if they're not immediately involved after school in something like a basketball practice or a football practice or some type of a rehearsal, our teachers stay in their classrooms for 45 minutes and students have the opportunity to seek them out, to get a little bit of extra help, to ask questions, maybe to help them prepare for something. So please encourage your student, if you're discovering that they have some questions or maybe they're struggling in a class, to take advantage of that 10th hour time with their teachers. One of our faculty members, Mrs. Yeager, is our learning coordinator. So her job is to try to take unique needs that our students have and try to match them up with strategies or in some cases maybe even some adjustments to how we approach things to try to set them up for academic success. So if your student has any unique learning challenges or learning needs, please don't hesitate to reach out to Mrs. Yeager, our learning coordinator, and she can begin helping us or helping you meet those needs. And then lastly, I just want to mention that on October 13th, we have a unique day of school. We call it Testing Day, and it's a day where pretty much every student in our school is taking some type of a standardized test. The freshmen take the pre-ACT 8-9. The sophomores take the regular pre-ACT. Some juniors who have a grade point average of at least 3.5 take the PSAT as an opportunity to try to get them advancing toward the National Merit Scholarship. And then our seniors take an ACT test called the NCRC, the National Career Readiness Certificate. So all of those standardized tests measure different things. For the first 2 years, taking the versions of the pre-ACT, we're trying to help students get ready to take the ACT, which is what our juniors do. But they don't take the ACT here at GPL. They usually take it at other places that, proctor the ACT. Watertown High School, one of them locally here. And then that NCRC for seniors is just one more measure as they're getting close to graduation to see if our school has done a good job of preparing them for the workplace. And in some cases, if students are heading into the workforce, that NCRC can be something that they can use to show a future employer that they have proficiency in various job-related skills. When it comes to academic success and really success in any aspect of life, we encourage our students to have a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. And to sum it up, you can see the two sides there, the two different heads and the different ways of qualifying what a growth mindset and a fixed mindset are. To sum it up, and our freshmen hear this from Mrs. Yeager in High School 101, it's really growth mindset, a willingness to stretch beyond where I currently am to grow and get farther. And then versus the idea that I'm stuck where I currently am, I'm helpless to do anything to grow and get farther. So we encourage that mindset of I can stretch, I can push myself beyond my limits. That's not always easy. Sometimes it involves making mistakes and failing, but at the end of the day, it's being driven toward growth, driven toward achieving at higher levels and going farther. So again, every aspect of life, but specifically at GPL in the realm of academics, wherever students are, each and every day is an opportunity to stretch, to grow farther, and we kind of summarize that as having a growth mindset. As parents, there's some opportunities to monitor your child's progress. At the beginning of the school year, we'll share some information with you about how you can get your PowerSchool parent portal set up. And then when you log into that, you'll have the opportunity to go right into your child's electronic gradebook and see the grades that have been entered and how things are going. One thing I would encourage with PowerSchool is to try to find that balance again of paying attention, but not paying so much attention that you find yourself micromanaging your student, asking day in and day out, hour by hour, about each and every grade that teachers enter. One approach that you can take is to set PowerSchool up to send you a weekly email. This is how I approach it with my own children. Usually late Sunday night, so if you're already in bed, you'll see it first thing Monday morning. You can set PowerSchool up to send you an email, and then it just basically gives you a snapshot of how things are going. And if everything looks pretty solid from your perspective, you can delete that email and move on with your day. If there's anything that concerns you, you can talk to your child about it. That might lead to a conversation with a teacher or a question or so forth. But that's one way that you can use PowerSchool, and what I find to be a convenient way to stay in touch, but maybe not micromanage. And again, we'll share information with you about how you can get that parent portal set up. And then once you're in there, it's pretty straightforward. You'll be able to figure out how you can send or tell PowerSchool to send you an email update as frequently as you'd like to receive it. Additionally, many of our teachers use Google Classroom as a way of organizing their classes, especially the electronic aspects of their classes. Parents can get linked up to various Google Classrooms so that, again, Google Classroom can send as often as a daily email kind of summarizing what types of assignments students are getting and so forth. Just another way that you can pay attention if you'd like to pay attention to what your child is doing day in and day out at school. One thing that I do to try to constantly be encouraging and motivating our students toward achieving at their best to the glory of God is I share a weekly quote of some type of motivation. And here's just one example of one that I came across this summer that I'll share with the students this school year. I really like it. This is George S. Halas was, I guess you could say, a legendary coach of the Chicago Bears football team. And he said, "Nobody who ever gave their best regretted it." And, certainly an encouragement to always be striving to give our best effort, most importantly to God's glory, but also, again, to help ourselves grow and achieve each and every day. Just a few notes about some policies and procedures. It's good for parents to know that once the school year starts, students have the opportunity to adjust their schedule if they need to by either adding or dropping or a combination of both classes. And that needs to be done by the 10th day of school, so the second Friday. So if your child is contemplating a schedule adjustment, there's a process on this end where they'll have to get a form. They'll have to get the teachers involved and their academic advisor to sign off on it. Also, running it past parents and getting their permission is a step in that process. So you might be approached about that by your child if that's something that they want to do. That gives you a little bit of information about how that works. And then if your child is taking a class at Northeast Technical High School, the add-drop period there is the 6th day of school. As far as attendance goes, it's an extremely important part of a successful high school career on so many different levels. So please, with us, encourage your child to have solid attendance at school, not only attending school, but also being on time. If there's going to be a reason that you need to excuse your child's absence, whether it be for a full school day, a partial school day, or multiple school days, please take care of that as soon as possible, as far in advance as possible, so that we and your child can prepare accordingly. A great way to do that would be to send an email to the GPLHS@gplhs.org email address. That'll go to Mrs. Miller, and then she'll be able to, first thing when she gets here in the morning, see if there's any, students who are going to be absent due to illness or appointments or anything like that. And then, of course, calling the office is a great way to excuse absences as well. Please know that it is extremely important that absences are excused by parents. It's not enough for a student to come to school and say, "I've got an appointment, I'm going to be missing 5th and 6th period today." We need to hear those types of things from parents directly. So again, email, phone call, but please be very proactive in excusing absences as they come up. and please do it as far in advance as possible. One specific note here would be for seniors who might be planning college visits. The handbook specifies that they can miss 3 days of school to visit colleges, which obviously is an important part of them planning for their future. Again, missing school for a college visit is excusable, it's acceptable, but we need to hear from parents if that planning is taking place. It's not enough for a student to just come to school and say, I'm going to be gone on Wednesday for a college visit. We need to hear that from parents. And we understand that sometimes, you want to visit that school when it's in session. So as much as I might say, maybe when we have a break from school, that could be a good time to visit a college. It's also possible that when we have a break, the college also has a break, and it might not be a good time for a visit. So again, that's why we allow a few days of school for college visits. Extremely important that we hear from parents as those are being scheduled. With respect to phones, we do allow students to have some freedom with their phones during the school day, and there's a whole nother set of rules for the dorm that I'll let Pastor Hansen cover. The main thing is we want to encourage responsibility. So yes, students can have their phones during passing times and at lunch and things like that, but there's also times a day, for example, in class, during chapel, where phones are not supposed to be out and are not supposed to be used. And in some cases, a teacher might even require a student to check the phone in when they enter the classroom. Responsible use, and again, one thing we want to encourage is we want to encourage our students to be engaged with people. So sometimes what happens is they get locked into their phone, and you'll see a group of students at lunch not engaging with each other. They're all locked in, text messaging or whatever social media, playing games on their phone and so forth. So you with us, we can encourage these young people. Yes, the phone is an incredible tool and it's got many positive purposes, but it's also important to be responsible with it. It's also important to engage with people face to face and develop that social awareness as well. As far as the dress and appearance guidelines go, I would encourage you to read through those in the handbook with your child. Those were also repeated in a list of expectations that we have for our students during the school day. Those things are not necessarily spelled out in the handbook. It's just an attempt to put in writing some practical things that help us get through the school day in an organized and orderly fashion, ultimately for our students' benefit and to create a good learning environment. So those school day expectations were shared in an email I sent probably a couple weeks ago. It had the title School Year Preview. It had an attached document that previewed various aspects of the school year. I'd encourage you to check out those expectations there. Something to note that'll be a little bit different this year is on roughly a monthly basis, we are, and usually this happens on a Wednesday. I think it happens once on a Tuesday, but usually a Wednesday, we're going to have a 10 a.m. start to give our faculty the opportunity to meet for a couple hours in the morning, 7:15 to 9:15, to allow us to go through some of the things that we need a little bit more time to go through, some important planning, some important discussions, some professional development, the grade checks that happen periodically throughout the school year. So the school year calendar will reflect those Wednesdays where we're going to have 10 a.m. starts, and please just be ready for those, especially if you're involved in transporting your child to and from school, that we periodically, and we'll try to make those known in weekly updates and things too, but periodically we're going to start at 10 a.m. to facilitate time for those faculty meetings. I shared with you several weeks ago already how we plan to approach COVID this year at GPL. So if you haven't had the opportunity to read that letter yet, please read that letter. It outlines our plan in greater detail. But ultimately, one of the fundamental premises is we've had the opportunity now, everybody who's of school age, high school age at GPL, and, parents and relatives and so forth, the opportunity to be vaccinated. So if that's something that people were inclined to do to hopefully prevent the transmission of COVID, that has been, available now for several months. So with that underlying assumption that people who wanted to get vaccinated have had that opportunity, we're going to take an approach this year that ultimately just strives to live responsibly in a world that has COVID in it. So last year we were very concerned about slowing or stopping the spread. This year it's more an approach, COVID is in the world and we're going to try to be responsible in a practical way and ultimately try to carry on our business as normally as possible. An important part of our plan is just paying attention to symptoms, paying attention to fevers. If a student has a fever, they need to stay at home at least 24 hours until that fever of greater than 100.4 has broken. And then we'd also like students to stay home from school if they have significant symptoms. So in a sense, COVID is going to be like other illnesses that come and go, influenza, the common cold, things like that. But keeping students home will hopefully help them return to school healthy, and then also help others stay healthy on a variety of levels as well. And then we're going to encourage from day one health-conscious behaviors and habits, many of which were highlighted last year and will continue this year. Things like regular hand washing with warm and soapy water, coughing into our elbows as opposed to coughing into our hands, cleaning surfaces, things like that. Just overall being aware of hopefully reducing the spread of germs and things like that. If any questions come up about how we're handling COVID, please don't hesitate to ask. And we realize on our end, this is a pretty significantly different approach to COVID than we took last year. So we anticipate that there will be some questions and concerns that maybe we haven't even thought of yet, but we'll deal with them as they come. And also rest assured, we're paying attention to the situation. It's always an evolving situation. So if anything were to change significantly that would lead us to think that we need to handle COVID differently, rest assured that that reflection and that analysis are always happening behind the scenes. Some encouragement for parents. I realize there's different parenting styles and our children are different as well. But maybe some things just to kind of be aware of and pay attention to in your child's life. These are some things that have some challenges, some temptations that have been a concern at GPL in recent years. And given that they have proven to be a challenge for some students, I just want to bring that to the forefront and ask you to, with us, be paying attention to these things and so forth. Vaping is something that is very common in today's young people and in many ways can be done very inconspicuously. Alcohol is a temptation. And then something that's on our radar too is the use of marijuana. I realize more illicit drugs, maybe are not necessarily in play as much as the things that I'm mentioning here, but with legal implications and laws that have changed, it seems as though, marijuana is going to become more common in society than maybe it was before, and how that affects our young people remains to be seen. But just please be paying attention and helping your child and coaching them through these difficult situations and these temptations that arise. In addition to those harmful substances, the other thing that can come into play is use of social media. We have seen some students get caught up in some dialogue and some practices with social media that are not healthy, and they can be very destructive to themselves and others. Specifically, Snapchat, TikTok would be two social media platforms where we've seen some dangerous behavior. So again, please monitor, please have conversations with your children and be very proactive in coaching them as these difficult situations can come along. Really quickly, I'm going to give you an update on our facility expansion. Maybe you'll be here as we start the school year and have the opportunity to see these things firsthand. But ultimately, that big canopy over the office entrance, designed to just make our school building look more interesting and draw attention to the main entrance, that canopy, that walkway and canopy will be usable by the first day of school, although they will continue to do some work on the canopy itself. On the east side of the gym, that new kitchen and that new dining area were supposed to be done by the first day of school. Unfortunately, we're probably not going to be able to use them until about 3 weeks into the school year. Currently, the target completion date is September 15th. And then when we can move our food service into the new kitchen, we'll start to use that new facility. The auditorium, it's possible when you get here, you're going to look at the outside of it and say, it doesn't look a whole lot different than it did the last time I saw it, however many weeks or months ago that may have been. And it's true, the exterior has not made too much progress for various reasons, some of which are materials delays and things like that. But rest assured, the inside of the auditorium is making substantial progress. The target completion date there is still the beginning of September, and we're still hopeful that we can have our Christmas concert in the new auditorium. And then the auxiliary gymnasium, which will be constructed on the south end of our current building. Due to material delays there, we're just now beginning to see some earthwork done for that. The steel structure isn't going to be delivered until October, so the target completion date for that is now basically the end of the new school year, the end of May 2022. So again, these facility expansions are tremendous blessings, and we look forward to using them as they get completed in the weeks and months to come. Really quickly, on behalf of our Mission Advancement Office, I want to give you a quick overview of our SCRIP program. If you're not familiar with SCRIP, in a nutshell, SCRIP involves the purchase of various types of gift cards to various types of vendors, a wide variety of vendors, grocery stores, restaurants, clothing stores, all kinds of different things, gas stations, where when you purchase the gift card, the company kicks a percentage of your purchase back to GPL. And that percent kickback, it can range everything from 1.5% to upwards of 10%, depending on the vendor, can be used both to support GPL, but then it can also be allocated to help you or help others with tuition. So if you're desiring to learn more about SCRIP or get set up with SCRIP, the information there on the bottom, Mrs. Sarah Roloff in the Mission Advancement Office is going to be the person to talk to. You could also go to our website, gplhs.org/script, to learn more there. But ultimately, like I said, it's an opportunity to provide financial support to GPL and also maybe your specific family, or you could designate it to somebody else as well. And it's basically just taking things you already do. You already grocery shop, you already buy fuel for your car, you already go out to eat, and then just do it in a way through SCRIP that allows this financial kickback to take place. You can get an account set up at shopwithscrip.com, and then you can go about your SCRIP ordering online that way. There's a phone app now called Raise Right, and so right from the app on your phone, you can submit SCRIP orders. Some of the SCRIP is still physical gift cards, but some of it can be electronic, or you can electronically recharge a gift card, and you can do it, right on the spot. So for example, I'm going to go shop at Walmart in an hour, and I want to reload my Walmart gift card. I can go into the app and reload it by tapping into my checking account. Those funds reload the gift card. I'm ready to shop at Walmart in very short order. And then again, you can do that via email with Mrs. Roloff. In our office here, there are paper forms that you can use. And then, like I said, the Raise Right app, you can do it through your phone as well. If your order is in by Monday morning at 10 a.m., then our SCRIP routine will be to get that order filled as quickly as possible. This is already a couple years old, but back in 2018-19, upwards of $60,000 of support came to GPL through SCRIP. So it can be a tremendous financial blessing, both for our school and to your family. Again, if you're not already set up with SCRIP, I'd encourage you to look into that and consider it, because it can be a good thing. And then to wrap this up, I'm just going to share a couple slides with you that I'm going to share with our students on the first day of school. Panther Pride. Nurturing and equipping lifelong disciples of Christ, the opportunity to grow in our faith and be in God's Word each and every day. But there's a lot more to our school and many opportunities to grow as Christ disciples. And it's ultimately my deep desire and goal for our students to learn to have a strong sense of Panther pride. 4 years of high school go very quickly. This is their high school, and it's their opportunity to make the most of this experience and have it be the best school and the best experience that it can be. So Panther Pride plays itself out in growing in and living in our Christian faith each and every day. Working hard to succeed and excel, not making excuses, not blaming others, but owning our role in our growth and our success, being kind and respectful to others. That's certainly the way that God wants us to treat our neighbors. Avoiding, resisting harmful temptations, taking care of our facility and our expanded facility and our campus, taking care of each other. One thing I say to our students is love your brother, love your sister, and if you see them heading down a dangerous path, get in their way and in a loving way, tell them, that's not God-pleasing behavior, that's dangerous, let's get back on the right track. And then just having a strong sense of school spirit, a strong sense of love for our school. So I hope our students at GPL develop a strong sense of Panther pride, and I hope that it plays out in all those different ways that I just described. A couple reminders as we wrap this up. Our opening weekend, and this isn't everything happening on opening weekend, but a few key things. We'll have our opening service in the gym at 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, and our new dorm supervisor and our new director of mission advancement will be installed in that service. And then later that evening at 6:45, also in the gym, we'll have our new student orientation. That is required of all new students, and it's not something that parents need to come to, but it's an opportunity for us to break some ice, go through our schedules, and hopefully just be ready to hit the ground running on Monday with a little bit more familiarity of everything that's going to be going on. And then, of course, on Monday, August 23rd, our first day of school, we're looking forward to it. And there is a special schedule for that first day. It was shared in that preview document that I shared a couple weeks ago, and I'll also share it again directly with students. So a special schedule for the first day that starts with chapel in the gym a little bit early at 7:45 a.m., and then we'll go from there. Again, I'd like to repeat something I said earlier. My door is open. Our doors are open. We're here for you. We're here to help you. We're here to partner with you in the Christian training of your children. So please don't hesitate. If there's any questions that come up, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, there's my email address and my cell phone number if you'd like to get a hold of me that way. I'm going to wrap up my orientation talk with that. Looking forward to a great 2021-22 school year under that theme each and every day of building on the solid rock of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Thank you.